I wanted to thank everybody for coming out today and just briefly explain what this program is today and why I wanted to do it. Oftentimes, people come into our district office and they've been victims of scams or frauds where people have approached them and asked them for money, to send them money in return for if they want a prize, or people had said they're going to do work at their house, people pay for it, and the work never gets done. And a lot of times, after that crime has been committed, we can turn it over, and we do, we turn it over, but it's very, very difficult to ever get that money back from somebody that's been frauded. So what we wanted to do was just to bring more and more awareness, because these scams and these practices that are going on, they change all the time. There's always a new scam out there. And what we have today is we have an officer from the Attorney General's office, Agent Holter, is going to be putting on a program today. I appreciate everybody for coming out, and I'll turn it over to Special Agent Holter.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Again, my name's Agent Janine Holter, and I work for the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General. And on behalf of Kathleen Kane, who's the Attorney General of Pennsylvania, I thank you for having me here this afternoon. The Attorney General's office is the chief law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Our office does large-scale investigations dealing with narcotics investigations, criminal investigations, environmental and protection issues. I do presentations on internet safety, cyberbullying, drugs and alcohol, gun violence, and I do 2 adult presentations, one on identity theft protection, and today the one that we're going to do is we're going to talk about crime prevention. It's my job to educate you and to make you think about what type of decisions are you going to make on a daily basis. Because every single one of us in here knows every decision that we make impacts our future. And I want you to really think about that for a minute. Unfortunately, sometimes criminals are out there. Criminals that we really don't know. At the time, we think this person might have our best interest in mind, but we're really not sure. So today's presentation is to educate you and to make you think that if you were ever placed in this situation, what type of decision would you make? We're going to go over a whole bunch of different issues, from sweepstakes to home improvements to power of attorney, and a whole bunch of different things in between. First, we're going to go over charitable contributions. You have to ask yourself, if you receive something in the mail or a phone call, how would you react to that person on the phone, or how would you read that thing that you received in the mail? I share this with you because unfortunately we receive a lot of mail, and sometimes junk mail. And I want you to think about, if somebody's asking you for a donation, how would you respond?
My mother lives alone, and she takes care of herself, and she's pretty independent. But I always check in on her, making sure she's okay. At my mom's request, I recently went through her checking account and her account balances, and I noticed that she was giving a lot of money out to these different charities. I noticed that there were a lot of charities on there, and some of them were the same ones over and over again. They were getting money from my mom every single month, and I was curious, why are they contacting her so often? Was this a scam?
You have to ask yourself that every time you give a donation to someone, all of a sudden your mail increases, right? You get mailings from other organizations that you never even heard of before. I share that with you because unfortunately sometimes organizations share our addresses. So once you give a donation to someone, you don't have to give a donation just because somebody else sends you something in the mail. Even if they send you address labels, tablet, a pen, you're not obligated at any time to give a donation. And I want you to really think about that, because we see in your population that sometimes you feel bad by keeping the labels and not giving a donation. So you're not obligated at any time to give a donation. If you want to keep the labels, keep the pen, keep the tablet, go ahead and keep it and then throw away. You don't have to give anybody a donation. You're not obligated. I want you to think about that, because unfortunately in George's mom's situation, she was receiving a lot of mailings for people to say, I want $5, I want $10. And you remember, minimum donations have gone up in those little things that we receive. I remember when they used to be okay with $1 or $2. Now you get them, sometimes it starts at $25. So you're not obligated at any time to send anybody any type of money. Also, if you receive a phone call from someone and they ask you for a charitable donation, please do not give them any personal information over the phone. These people, they're going to want you to give a donation and they're going to ask you for your credit card. If you did not make that phone call, please do not give them any credit card information. If you're interested in their charity, you can ask them to send you something in the mail. If they say to you, we're a nonprofit, I can't send you anything, say, I'm sorry, I can't give you a donation. Let's go over sweepstakes. Sweepstakes is a huge problem, okay? There's no international lottery. There's none, okay? Every single one of us in here would love to be a millionaire, but it's probably not going to happen, okay? And I share that with you because we all want to win that $1 million, okay? But if somebody calls you and says to you that you've just won $500,000 or $1 million, and they say to you all you have to do is pay tax on that money, they're going to FedEx you a check the very next day. It's not going to happen. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Every single one of you in here are very smart and intelligent people, but sometimes these criminals, they get to our emotions. Don't let them do that. Especially, there's other scams going around. Somebody might call you and say to you, you want a brand new car. Well, we would all love in here to win a brand new car. They're going to tell you all you have to do is pay tax on that money, and they'll personally deliver you that car. They're going to tell you to wire $2,500 to this account. Please do not do it, okay? These are scams. These are criminals that do not have our best interest in mind. I share that with you because you might even receive something in the mail saying that you won the international lottery. There's no international lottery. You are not going to win $1 million, even $500,000. Unfortunately, this young lady received a notice in the mail that she possibly won the international lottery.
I recently received one of those prize sweepstakes in the mail, the kind that says you could be a winner, not you are a winner. You know, I'm always filling out those sweepstakes forms because I never know, it could be the time my name is going to be the winner. I guess I finally was a winner because I received this notice from the International Lottery that said I was a winner. All I had to do was pay taxes before I could receive it. And I thought, well, you pay taxes on a game show for the prizes. You pay taxes for the lottery in your own state. So I figured, I guess I was a winner.
Listen to what Barbara said at the end there. She said, logically, she thought it all out. Oh, you pay taxes in your own state for the lottery, so why wouldn't I pay somebody to win the international lottery? I share this with you because unfortunately, we receive phone calls as well as Representative Heffley's office receives phone calls on a regular basis that people think that they won the international lottery and they might have already wired money. They might have already sent a check. Don't do this because it's very hard for our office to trace where that money went to, especially if we're wiring money, because usually it's from a foreign country and we don't know. And you might get somebody that sounds like they have an accent. We have, unfortunately, people that call from all parts of the country and try to call other individuals to say that you won the Jamaican lottery, the Canadian lottery, and you don't know. There's huge problems. There's somebody in Berks County that just paid $45,000 wired money because he thought he was going to win $1 million. Please tell your friends, your family members, there's no international lottery. If they receive a phone call from someone that says that they won a large sum of money and they have to wire money somewhere, hang up the phone. Let's talk, how many of you guys use the internet in here? All right, let's talk about the internet for a minute. Brought up a great point. If you receive a message from someone that you don't know, and I know the curiosity in this room will kill you not to open that email, right? Don't open it, okay? If you can get a spam mail, that an account with that, like Mail Washer or something that can spam your account, do it. Because there's a lot of messages going out from somebody that you don't even know. I was in Williamsport the other day, and this woman that worked for the agency that we were doing the presentation for, she hands me this email. And she said, I just got this email from a Superior Court judge in Texas. So I read it, and it said that there was $500,000 sitting in his courtroom for him to give out to her if she paid taxes on that money. I told her to shred the email. She said to me, Now, who's going to make up that they're a Superior Court judge in Texas? People make up names all the time, right? Just because you type it, text it, tweet it, post it on the internet, how do you know it's 100% true? Let's move on. Let's talk about estate planning. Some of you in here might receive a postcard in the mail, a letter saying that they're having a free estate planning dinner. Usually at estate planning dinners, they might want to go over your retirement, or they might want to go over your funeral plans, your whatever, where do you see yourself, unfortunately, when we leave this earth. I share this with you because if you get invited to an estate planning dinner, you have to be careful about what they're actually selling to you. If you go to an estate planning dinner, they're going to ask you for personal information, your name, your address, and your telephone number, because when you leave the estate planning dinner, they might contact you to want to sit down with you and see what your future plans are. I share this information with you because sometimes at estate planning dinners, they might use tactics that you might not be sure of. Most of you in here have probably sought the advice of an attorney or have a will set in place, have your future funeral plan set in place, and you have your retirement in good hands. If you go to an estate planning dinner, don't get worried or upset that you might not have everything put in place for yourself. When you go to an estate planning dinner, take their information and then seek the advice of your family members and or your personal attorney at any time. Unfortunately, sometimes with estate planning dinners, they use scare tactics that you might not be sure of, and they might say things to you that might be confusing. I want you to always consult your personal attorney and also consult family members. Unfortunately, this young lady went to an estate planning dinner and she had that nice young man come to her house the very next day.
I got this flyer in the mail about estate planning. The man who held the seminar was very interesting and seemed to know what he was talking about and said that you need more than just a will. He said that going through probate would be a long and costly procedure and that setting up this trust would probably be the best way to go. The man came to my house the very next day to help me with the paperwork. He looked over my investments. He told me I could get a better rate if I bought the annuities from him.
In Ellen's situation, she went to an estate planning dinner and she was confused about what they were telling her. She had that nice young man come to her house the very next day. He did promise her a great rate on her annuities. I share this with you because the decisions that she made with that man that day at her home were not in her best interest. If you sign a contract with anybody, with estate planning, with home improvements, you have 3 days to break that contract in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. With this estate planning dinner, Ellen's family came over the very next day and said, "Mom, why did you sign this? This isn't what you need." They tried to call the estate planner back and apparently wasn't able to get a hold of him right away. With the 3-day rule, at any time, if you're having problems breaking a contract, please write down when you contacted that person, who you talked to, so that we have a list to say that you did try to break that contract within 3 days. If you can't get a hold of somebody, then you can call our Bureau of Consumer Protection office and we can make that phone call on your behalf. So if you do sign a contract, just remember that you have 3 business days in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to break that contract. Okay? Questions with estate planning? Let's talk about checks and money orders. We're going to do this twofold. We're going to do it for the internet and we're going to do it about any types of sales that you might have. Let's talk about if you're going to have a garage sale or a flea market, sell something on your own. Or say that you're going to sell a large item, maybe a TV, or maybe you're going to sell your vehicle. And you think to yourself, I'm going to put it in the paper, or I'm just going to put it outside and I'm going to put my phone number on there. If you're going to sell a large item, say you're going to sell your vehicle and you're going to sell it for $5,000, and you have a friend of a friend that might have a niece or nephew that wants to buy your vehicle. Now, they live in Carbon County and you think, oh, they're hometown people, I know who they are, but do you actually know who they are? When you're going to sell something, be very, very careful. If you're going to sell at a yard sale or garage sale, ask for cash. If you're going to sell something large and that you have to get a check for it, hold your item until that check clears, and then you can give them your vehicle, you can give them whatever that large item is that you're going to sell. Unfortunately, in this situation, this gentleman was trying to sell his motorcycle online.
I decided to sell my motorcycle online to make some extra money. A friend of mine told me about a website where I could advertise it for free. Well, within a day, I had a buyer. He emailed me and told me he was sending a business check for $500, more than I was asking. He said I should send the extra money to a delivery company as soon as possible so they could pick it up. I was just happy to sell the motorcycle.
When Buzzy sent the check for $500 to the delivery company, did anybody come and pick up the bike? Nope. Nope, that's exactly right, no. I share this with you because this happens a lot. You might be selling a large item and they're gonna tell you they can't pick it up, but they contacted a delivery company and the delivery company is gonna charge them $200, $500, $800, $1,000. And if you could forward them a check, then the item is sold. If you receive an email from someone, a phone call from someone, something in the mail, depending on what the story is, should we believe it? And how can we find out if it's actually the truth or not? My suggestion to you is hold your item until that check clears. Never, ever send any type of money to a delivery company. Just tell the individual, I'm sorry, I can't sell you my item at this time. Okay? All right, let's move on to home improvements. For your family members and friends that live outside of here, this is something that we need to be aware of. Home improvements, I want to talk to you about when somebody buys a pickup truck or a van and they slap a sticker on the side of it and say, oh, I can do painting, I can do concrete, I can do roofing. Any single one of us in here could slap a sticker on anything if we want and say that we could do that type of work. But how do you know we're actually an expert at it? Your family members and friends might have somebody pull up onto their driveway and ask, hey, do you want me to tar and chip your driveway? Do you want me to seal coat it for you? Hey, I have extra materials on my truck. I could do some landscaping work for you. I share this with you because unfortunately there are people out there that will say that they have the ability to do any type of work. They'll say to you that they'll give you a great price. Unfortunately, we have to be aware of this. We have a home improvements website with the Attorney General's office. It's kind of a checklist for yourself. If you need something done in your area, you can go onto our website or you can call our office and say, hey, I want a contractor right here in Lansford, or I want a contractor in Carbon County that could do this, this, and this. And you can actually break it down by what county, what do you exactly need done, and we'll give you a list of reputable people that you can use. My suggestion, if you don't want to go to our list, at least use somebody that's a staple within your community. Somebody that you're used to. You know somebody for the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years that's been a good contractor or that knows how to do type of landscaping, use them. A fly-by-night person that just came into town, you don't know if you could trust those people or not. Unfortunately, in this situation, this young lady knew she needed a roof for her house, but at the time she couldn't afford it.
I was pulling some weeds around the house one morning and a nice young man approached me. He noticed that my roof was in need of some repair. I knew he was right, but I'd been putting off the expense of fixing it for some time. However, he said that he had some roofing materials left over from a previous job and he offered me a very good deal. He even said that I only needed to pay him half the money up front. And he gave me a receipt on the back of his business card. The work was supposed to start last week, but I'm still waiting for him to show up.
Did he come? No, he didn't come. I share this with you because this happens so often. Once the birds start chirping and we see our red cardinal, all of these things happen to us. I share this with you because I want you to think about if somebody came up to your property or somebody even knocked on your door here and said that they were in maintenance and they needed to check something in your apartment, would you let them in? I would hope no, no, no. Unless somebody that owns this building said to you, hey, I'm having the cable company come today and they need to come into your apartment. If nobody told you that and it's 10 a.m. and you can't get a hold of somebody and there's somebody still knocking on your door saying, hey, I got to do some painting in there, don't let them in. Please don't let them in. And I share that with you because you don't know what these people actually want from you. We have to be extremely careful with this because in her situation, she needed a new roof, but she couldn't afford it. And that happens to a lot of us. Bills are expensive. And unfortunately, this nice young man walked up to her and said he had extra materials on his vehicle. And he also gave her a business card. You can't imagine how many times we get calls from people and they go, well, they had a business card. Every single one of you in this room can go and make up a business card, right? You can think about whatever you want. Just because somebody has a business card, that doesn't mean they're actually reputable. Let's talk about account verification. We're going to talk about your bank and we're going to talk about credit cards. Your bank will never call you or will send you an email to say that they need to verify your account information. If somebody calls you and says that they're from a bank, from your credit card company, and there's been an identity theft issue, they're going to tell you that a large item was charged. Maybe they're going to say it was a $2,000 TV. Now think about it. Criminals are getting to our emotions. They're getting to our emotions because we're going to say, wait a minute, I can't afford a $2,000 TV. And now it's on my credit card, or they took your money, that money out of your checking account. If somebody calls you and tells you something like that, take a deep breath, count to 10, hang up the phone, and call your credit card company, call your bank from a number that you are familiar with. And ask them and tell them what happened. And this is the phone call that you received. The bank, the credit card company will help you out immediately. Unfortunately, in this situation, this young man thought he was talking to a bank security officer.
I shred my bank statements and cancer checks, and I never carry my Social Security card in my wallet. I got a telephone call from bank officer recently asking if I had purchased a $400 camcorder. I told him that absolutely not. I hesitated because I thought this was a scam. However, he had my name, address, and the credit card number. He merely wanted me to verify this 3-digit security code on the back of the credit card. Since he already had all of the pertinent information about my name, address, and credit card number, I gave him the 3-digit security code so that I could be sure the $400 was removed from my credit card.
And think about what Bill said there. He goes, absolutely not. I didn't purchase a $400 camcorder. How ridiculous. I wouldn't want one of those. They're getting to our emotions. So stop, take a deep breath, think about what that person is telling you on the phone, and you're in control. Hang up the phone and say, I'm going to call my credit card company. I'm going to call my bank from a number that I'm familiar with. And I'm going to find out if this $400 camcorder is actually been charged. Now remember, caller ID. Bill didn't have it, but most of you in here have it. Just because it says American Bank, M&T Bank, Wells Fargo, that doesn't mean that you're actually talking to a bank security officer. So gather that information if you want, and then hang up the phone and call your bank from a number that you are familiar with. Do not give anybody personal information, credit card information, checking or savings account information. Also, I want you to be careful about sending and receiving mail. We are seeing that in some situations that, especially people that live in developments, you know that nice little red flag we put out on our mailboxes? Well, that red flag tells our postmaster or post lady that there is a bill there to go out, or a birthday card, possibly have money in it. But it also tells criminals that there's a bill in there, or ooh, there might be cash in there. Believe it or not, people still send cash through the mail. I share this with you because if you could visit the blue box, my recommendations to everyone in here, because most of us, we're busy, we work, we won't be knowing when our postman or postwoman comes and picks up our mail. So we don't know if criminals are going through our mail. In some counties, people actually put the little clothespin out on their mailboxes too, and that criminals could walk by and look on their porches to see if there's mail out. In Bill's situation, sometimes there's still some credit card companies out there that have your full account number when you send your bill out. So in Bill's situation, of course, the criminals had his name, his address, and his full credit card number. All they had to do was get his 3-digit number on the back to start making internet purchases. Bill said, yeah, he had my name, address, and account information. That's because the criminal got it out of his mail. And I share that with you. Also, be careful what you throw out. Think about, ask yourself this question. If somebody looked through your garbage, how much information would they already know about you without even speaking one word to you? Everything. Ask yourself that question. I worked undercover narcotics for 10 years. I pulled people's garbage all the time. You know how many people live there, what kind of accounts they have. Do they go to casinos? Do they deal any type of drugs? How much money do they have? if they have any kids, do they have any pets? Think about that. And if you don't shred your information, think about all that information, account information that could be possibly in your garbage. I share that with you. You don't have to have a shredder, but if you don't have one, cut up that information. Just don't rip it in half. Cut it up so that if you have a dumpster diver that could be in your area, that they can't successfully put your account information together. Okay? All right, last but not least, let's go over power of attorney. In this situation, we think, or you'll see, a family member was abusing her power of attorney.
Things were getting hard for me. I needed help around the house, and I needed help financially. The money was coming in, but I just couldn't stay on top of my bills. My daughter lived nearby. She came and helped me get my house back in order. I then turned power of attorney over to her, and she helped to get my bills in order. One day, my son came to visit and started to go through my financial papers. He noticed that huge sums of money had been taken out every few days. I told him that I had given his sister power of attorney. My son then started to go through all of my financial papers and soon discovered that my daughter had used this power of attorney to gain access to my money. My son wants me to call the police, but what can I do? She is my daughter, and I did give her the power of attorney.
Listen to Ruth's voice at the end of that. She is my daughter, and I did give her power of attorney. She feels guilty, right? And I want you to think about that for a minute. You're owners of your own accounts. So if you have somebody do your bills, do your grocery shopping for you, and they have power of attorney for you, you're still owners of your accounts. Check your accounts on a regular basis. Make sure the balances are there that are supposed to be there. So 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later, you would notice if there was a huge problem with money being taken out. At any time, no question is too small and nothing is too large. We will handle anything that you give us. If we can't handle it, we will get you a name and phone number of somebody that can. Questions, thoughts, concerns? Representative Heffley? Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you. That round of applause for It's great that you were able to come in, and I thank the Attorney General for allowing you to come in, but also thank you for coming back to the Coal Region.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
So we'll wrap up. We'll have some information over there. We'll leave some pamphlets and brochures here. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can either contact my office, and we can put you in touch with the Attorney General's office. But also anything that you heard here today, make sure you just relay it. If you're talking to people, that can relay it on, to other folks. That's what we want to do, is really continue to bring awareness, because the things that were discussed here today, those criminals, they're going to continue to change and alter their practices to continue to prey on people. So, if it doesn't feel right, or it probably isn't right. That's always a rule that I look for. But thank you, everybody, for coming out and allowing us to be here.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.